The start of a new month always brings a different kind of energy around the Dallas Cowboys. And right now, the atmosphere feels like something is building behind the scenes. There's a sense that the front office is not sitting still, not waiting for things to magically fall into place, but actively exploring every possible path to improve the roster before the season begins. When you listen carefully to the comments coming from inside the organization, you can tell there is a very clear focus. And that focus is on strengthening the linebacker position. This is not speculation anymore. This is not just fan discussion. This is something the team itself has openly acknowledged through multiple statements and actions over the past few weeks. What makes this situation interesting is that the Cowboys did try to make moves already. They looked into free agency, they explored different options, and like every offseason in the National Football League, some negotiations worked out and others simply did not. That is the reality of roster building in a competitive league, where every team is trying to improve at the same time. But what stands out is that the Cowboys are not treating those missed opportunities as the end of the road. Instead, they're treating them as just one step in a much larger plan that includes trades, the draft, and possibly even post-draft signings. The message coming from the organization is very clear. They're not done, and they're still looking for the right player to fill a very important role on this defense. When a team starts openly talking about trades and draft options for the same position, it usually means that position is a real priority. The linebacker role in this defense is extremely important, especially the player who communicates plays, organizes the defense, and acts as the leader in the middle of the field. That type of player is not easy to find, and it is even harder to acquire because teams rarely want to give up defensive leaders. That is why the trade market for linebackers is always complicated. You're not just trading for talent. You're trading for intelligence, leadership, and experience, all in one player. There have been several names mentioned as possible trade targets, and each one comes with a different situation, different contract, and different level of availability. Some players might be technically available, but very expensive. Others might be affordable, but their teams do not really want to trade them unless they receive a strong offer. This is why the Cowboys front office has to evaluate not just talent, but also value. Giving up a high draft pick for the wrong player can hurt a team for years, but finding the right player for the right price can completely change a defense. One of the most interesting situations involves linebackers who are entering the final year of their contracts. Those players often become trade candidates because their teams have to decide whether to extend them, let them leave in free agency, or trade them before losing them for nothing. That is usually where trade opportunities are born in the National Football League. If a team believes they cannot afford a player long-term, they might prefer to trade him now and receive draft picks instead of letting him walk away later. That is why the Cowboys are likely monitoring contract situations across the league, not just player performance. Another important factor here is the draft. The draft can change everything very quickly. If a team drafts a linebacker early, suddenly another linebacker on their roster becomes expendable. If a team fails to draft the position they wanted, they might become more aggressive in trade talks. The Cowboys know this, which is why they are probably willing to wait and see how the draft board falls before making a final decision. Patience is very important in these situations because the best opportunities often appear when other teams become desperate or when roster depth changes after the draft. At the same time, there's also pressure to fix the linebacker room sooner rather than later. The defense needs stability, communication, and consistency in the middle of the field. Without a strong presence at linebacker, even a talented defense can struggle with positioning, tackling angles, and coverage responsibilities. The Cowboys have talent on defense. There is no doubt about that. But football is not just about talent. It is about structure and communication, and that often starts with the middle linebacker. So right now, the Cowboys appear to be exploring every possible path. Trades are being discussed, draft prospects are being evaluated, and internal options are also being considered. This is what a front office does when it identifies a weakness on the roster and decides to attack that problem from multiple angles instead of relying on just one solution. It is a complex process with many moving parts, and fans usually only see the final result, not the dozens of conversations and negotiations that happen behind the scenes. What makes this situation even more interesting is that the Cowboys are known for making unexpected moves when the right opportunity appears. Sometimes a trade comes out of nowhere. Sometimes a player becomes available that nobody expected, and sometimes the draft completely changes the team's strategy. That is why this linebacker situation is something to watch very closely over the next few weeks, because there are still many ways this story can develop, and the Cowboys clearly are not finished trying to improve that position. As the offseason continues to unfold, the situation around the linebacker position becomes more and more important for the future of this defense. When you look at successful defenses across the league, one thing they almost always have in common is a reliable presence in the middle of the field, someone who can read plays quickly, react without hesitation, and make tackles consistently. That role is not just about physical ability. It is about awareness, communication, and leadership. The Cowboys understand this, and that is why they keep exploring different possibilities instead of rushing into a move that might not truly solve the problem. At the same time, you can be patient while still being aggressive behind the scenes, making phone calls, discussing trade scenarios, evaluating players who might become available later. All of that is part of the process. Just because a trade has not happened yet does not mean nothing is happening. In the National Football League, conversations are happening constantly between teams, agents, and front offices. Opportunities can appear very quickly, and the teams that are prepared are usually the ones that take advantage of those moments. So as we move closer to the draft and deeper into the offseason, the linebacker situation remains one of the most important storylines for this team. Whether the solution comes through a trade, the draft, free agency, or a combination of all three, it is clear that the organization knows this position needs attention. The only question now is not if they will make a move, but when and how that move will happen, because all signs point to the Cowboys continuing to search for the right player to strengthen the middle of their defense and bring more stability to the entire unit. And when you start to project how this decision could impact the upcoming season, it becomes even more significant. The linebacker position often acts as the connector between the defensive line and the secondary, which means any weakness there can create a chain reaction across the entire defense. If the linebacker is late to read a play, the defensive line's effort can go to waste, and the secondary can be put in difficult coverage situations. On the other hand, when that position is strong, everything around it tends to function more smoothly, and the defense plays with a different level of confidence and rhythm. There is also a psychological aspect to all of this that should not be ignored. When players know the front office is actively trying to improve the team, it sends a message to the locker room that the organization is serious about winning. That kind of mindset can influence how players prepare, how they compete, and how they respond to challenges during the season. Adding the right linebacker is not just about improving statistics on paper. It is also about setting a tone for the entire defense and reinforcing a culture of accountability and performance. At the same time, internal development remains part of the equation. Even if the Cowboys bring in a new player, the current roster still has to step up. Younger players have an opportunity to prove themselves, and sometimes the biggest improvement comes from within. Coaching, experience, and confidence can transform a player from a question mark into a reliable contributor. That is why the team is likely evaluating not just external options, but also how much growth they expect from the players already in the building. Another layer to consider is how offensive trends around the league are evolving. Modern offenses are faster, more versatile, and more focused on exploiting mismatches. That puts even more pressure on linebackers to be athletic, disciplined, and capable in coverage. It is no longer enough to simply be a strong tackler. Today's linebackers have to defend tight ends, running backs, and sometimes even wide receivers in space. This evolution makes the search for the right player even more challenging because the skill set required is broader than ever before. As the timeline moves forward, every decision becomes more connected. What the Cowboys do in the draft will influence their trade options, and any trade they make could change their draft strategy. It is a constant process of adjusting and reacting to new information. Front offices have to be flexible, ready to change direction at any moment, depending on how the market develops. That adaptability is often what separates successful teams from those that struggle to keep up. All of this leads to a situation where the next move could come at any time. Whether it happens before the draft, during the draft, or even after, the groundwork is clearly being laid right now. The evaluations, the conversations, and the planning are all happening behind the scenes, building toward a decision that could have a major impact on the upcoming season. And until that move is made, the focus on the linebacker position will continue to grow, with every new development adding another piece to a story that is still far from finished. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. A growing buzz around the league suggests the Dallas Cowboys may be quietly orchestrating one of the boldest draft night maneuvers in recent memory. According to whispers circulating among executives and scouts, the franchise is exploring a high-stakes trade package that would send not one, but two first-round selections in exchange for a proven star on the offensive line. While no official confirmation has surfaced, the idea itself has ignited debate. Dallas has long been known for valuing dominance in the trenches, and this potential move signals a win-now mentality that could reshape the team's identity. Sources close to front offices hint that internal discussions have intensified, with the Cowboys reportedly targeting a lineman viewed as a cornerstone piece capable of anchoring protection for years to come. The speculation comes amid concerns about consistency along the offensive front. Injuries, age, and fluctuating performances have left gaps that a single elite addition could immediately stabilize. Rather than gambling on rookies, the rumored strategy leans towards certainty, acquiring a player already tested at the highest level. Still, such a move would not come without risk. Surrendering two first-round picks would significantly limit future flexibility, placing enormous pressure on the incoming player to deliver instant impact. Around the league, reactions have been mixed. Some executives reportedly admire the aggressiveness, while others question whether the price is too steep in an era where roster depth is increasingly critical. Fans, meanwhile, are divided. The allure of landing a marquee name is undeniable, but the long-term implications linger in the background. Would this be a masterstroke that elevates Dallas into immediate contention, or a gamble that mortgages too much of the future? For now, everything remains in the realm of speculation. Yet the mere existence of such rumors underscores a clear message. The Cowboys may be preparing to make noise when the spotlight is at its brightest. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.